$500, and then training with the site. And training is typically like a morning or an afternoon or something, so it's like 2 or 3 hours. So literally, the outlay for an agency might be a few $100s, might be $500 or $600.
So you use the outlay of the physician's offices who have already implemented the servers and use their servers to use your bus, which you were talking about, to get access to move the information back and forth. So you're talking about not having a server at the agency or the owner's shelter.
Well, there's different models. So most of the agencies have a server on site. There's some agencies that are poor or have less resources. They buddy up with another agency, and so they'll have their system installed on their partner's server, for instance, so they don't need to buy a server. So server might cost you like $500 or depending on what you purchase. But there's a lot of examples of that sort of buddying up where people use each other's service tasks information. So yeah, so you could technically, in a community where physicians' offices have servers, a shelter could use one of those servers to install the system. But it's a separate system, it's a separate database that's installed. So we found that was a much more palatable option for agencies to know that they had sovereignty of their data. It was something that they owned completely. It wasn't something that they were giving up to some central warehouse somewhere, or something that they owned. The city of Toronto was actually taking this offer and actually made a centrally owned kind of database. They've done a kind of ASP version of this, and so everybody uses the same database. But the way that the model we use is everybody has their own database. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What exactly is the bus? How much it costs?
The bus is an open source application as well. It's part of the Oxford project. It's on.
So it's software, not hardware.
It's software, yeah. And it just requires its own server. And so you can have it on the same server as your Oscar installation, for instance, right? You can have an integrator there. I mean, we tend to set it up as a separate installation or on a separate server, but we can certainly have it on the same server.
I'll share an example of how the Casey project has helped our department to understand the educational experiences of all of our remote training sites. So we built an integrator out of a computer, just standard computer. We encrypt the hard drive. We stick the server in our departmental office within the lock room. The idea is that if somebody would walk in and steal your computer, steal your hard drive, it is of no use to them. That's how secure and how private you want to make it. But what this allows us to do is that we now can say, okay, how many of our residents are seeing so many 18-month well baby visits, and what kind of prescription patterns they're doing. I mean, we have all that integrated population-based data to compare between sites. And what they've done, it costs us practically nothing to just do something so powerful that we couldn't do before. So now we're looking to really measuring complexity, continuity, all those things about what family medicine is all about, and whether we're training these to our residents, and all because of a tool that is now available.
Yeah, so that's the power of open source is the fact that all this is openly shared. And so yeah, you can have communities, you can have group practices, you can have 5 practices, that are separate Oscar installations, and you could set up an integrator, and then you could view each other's records with client consent.
Maybe we'll do one more question. I see David Page has got his hand up, and then there'll be an opportunity to talk to Tomislav in the break. And Tomislav also has a full morning workshop tomorrow on this, because I can see there's a lot of interest in this. So if anyone wanted to go more in depth, there's also the opportunity to attend that.
Yeah, I think you might have answered it, but if we have a community that's mainly Oscar, and we have some walk-in clinics, we could integrate between the walk-in clinics and ourselves. And then that was one question. The second question, and if we have a specialist in Chilliwack going on to Oscar, could we integrate between the specialist and ourselves so we don't even have to pass consult letters across?
Yes, you could, yes. As long as we're all using Oscar, you can do that. So the software changes that we need to make were changes to the Oscar system itself and create this integrator. And because it's open source, we invite any other EMR to do the same. They could, another EMR like Practice Solutions, or anything else, whoever, could also make some changes to their software and also hook up to the same integrator, for instance. But of course, we're not Nightingale, we're not Practice Solutions, so we can't tell them what to do or make changes for them because they're not open source. But if your specialist practices are using Oscar, and you're using Oscar, then certainly you could hook up the same integrator and you could pass referrals to each other, like a Strive. And I can provide more details of that.
I want to say just something. Our teaching practices are not all Oscar based, but in Ontario, because of the funding program, that these practices are using certified systems, which must contain export and import functions. So the way we're doing it is to export an entire practice solution system and import entirely into a fake Oscar system within the integrator. So it's not being used for clinical purpose, but it would look like an Oscar within the integrator. That's how we get around it. But the integrator already has all the pieces to allow us to share data. So it's a lot easier to do that, to convert a non-Oscar to an Oscar system than to expect these non-Oscar systems to do what we have already done. And I don't think there is enough of a business case that they would want to do it. Right?
Tomislav, this approach then obviates the need for all sorts of complicated extensions to the HL7 vocabulary. You're just passing data structures and records and
Yes, this is still a first release, if you will. It can be converted into HL7. Kind of debate that at length.
I'm not recommending it, by the way.
Right. It's doable. Within the infrastructure to convert the messages to HL7, it's just additional work that we need to be done, but we didn't do it in HL7. Some of it is HL7, so we built an infrastructure to communicate with the hospital network in Toronto, and that's done through HL7. So some work we done through HL7. So so hopefully, if you're interested in more, I'd love to talk to you. And tomorrow morning we're doing a session on this. Thank you very much.
This dovetails perfectly with what I was going to talk about. And I love the approach, because if I understood it correctly, what we have in the middle for integration is a connector plugger piece that sticks connectors in and then retracts them, as opposed to a huge pile of data in the middle that's stuck there forever and isn't, in the moment, retractable connections between serviceable databases. And some of the beautiful things about the way this has been done is that it started with privacy. It started with the patients. It was about opting in and getting all of the privacy issues addressed at the front end and building something that worked within them. And it sounds kind of functional. So, put this on too. That one too. Does that work? Double-sided?
No, it's not streaming.
I see.
For Quebec.
Okay. So a reminder to us all of the Hippocratic Oath that all that comes into our knowledge in the exercise of our profession we're supposed to keep secret. And the World Medical Association recently basically wrote a fresh version of the Hippocratic Oath, reminding us about respecting patients' rights to confidentiality, and that when we're communicating with colleagues involved in the care of the patient, that our communication does need to be confined to the necessary information. So information is meant to be shared on a need-to-know basis. In the UK, there's been a lot of debate because they created this enormous centralized spine of patient information, and Richard Bowdre is one of the key leads of the British Medical Association's GP committee.